Chapter 25. You are a nobody in the world of modeling. Miss Su, why don't you try them on first? Liao Yui suggested. Su Bei nodded and didn't say anything more. The models in front of her were already ready for the show and would start taking part in the first test one by one. She had to solve this problem as soon as possible. Su Bei sat down and quietly put on the shoes before standing up again. She had barely taken a step forward when all of a sudden, she seemed to lose her balance. With a scream, she leaned forward and threw her arms around Liao Yui for support. Liao Yui hadn't expected Su Bei to fall right away. She had tampered with the platforms of the shoes in such a way that they wouldn't break off at once. According to her calculation, Su Bei should have fallen after taking a few steps on stage. She had just wanted Su Bei to fall down and sprain her ankles and fail the first test in the process. But now that Su Bei fell on her without warning, Liao Yui didn't have time to dodge and fell back, pressed onto the floor by Su Bei. The logistics assistants standing around them were shocked, but they quickly hurried forward to help them up. Some of them held up Su Bei while the others supported Liao Yui. Xiao Minxian also stepped forward just in time to check the condition of both parties. Su Huixian's eyes turned red with concern as she asked, "What's going on? Su Bei, are you hurt? You have to take the first test soon. You can't get hurt." "I'm fine," Su Bei said lightly, standing up without any difficulty. While working as a model in the United States, she had gone through intense training and knew how to handle such situations. After seeing that there was something wrong with every pair of shoes that Liao Yui brought her, she had already guessed that they had been tampered with on purpose. Therefore, when she had put on the shoes, she had deliberately put a lot of weight on her feet, so as to remove the loose platforms at once. Then, she had leaned forward and fallen on Liao Yui, toppling her to the floor. Seeing that there was nothing wrong with Su Bei, Su Huixian forced a smile. "You're so lucky." But on the inside, she couldn't help cursing. Why didn't Su Bei get hurt by the fall? She hadn't even sprained her ankles. "Don't touch me. It hurts." Liao Yui sat in a chair with the help of a few people. There was definitely something wrong with her feet. She felt a sharp pain every time she tried to move them. "Hold on. I'll call a doctor for you right away," Su Huixian said worriedly. "Luckily, you protected Su Bei from the fall, or she would have gotten injured. But now, you can't work for the rest of the first test. And with your injury, I'm afraid that you won't be able to work even on the day of the second test, and at the actual fashion show, will you?" Realizing that she might not be able to work for the rest of the fashion show, Liao Yui burst into aggrieved tears. It had taken her a lot of effort to become a logistics assistant at the show. She had wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to perform well, so that she could get ahead in her career. She hadn't expected that she would lose this opportunity because of her injured legs. "I don't dare to blame you, Miss Su," Liao Yui said in a low voice. "No matter what the consequences are, I will bear them myself." The other models didn't say anything, but the logistics assistants were burning with anger after hearing Liao Yui's words. They looked at Su Bei with contempt in their eyes. One of them jumped out on impulse and yelled, "You're Su Bei, right? Do you think you're so special just because you're a model? Even top international supermodels don't have a temper like yours. Who do you think you are? You are a nobody in the world of modeling. Just because you didn't like the shoes that Yui brought you, you hurt her. Did you have to do that?" The other assistants also glared at Su Bei. Liao Yui stopped her in a hurry. "Xiao Tong, don't blame Miss Su. It's just a bad day for me." On the surface, she didn't seem to blame Su Bei, but there was actually deep hatred behind her words. Chapter 26. It had nothing to do with her. Su Huixian spoke up, pretending to be fair. "I'm sure that Su Bei didn't do it on purpose. She's just in a bad mood. Please hold your tongue." On the surface, she seemed to be supporting Su Bei, but in fact, she was stirring up trouble for her. Xiao Tong, the impulsive assistant, became even more furious after hearing this. Does she have the right to take out her anger on others just because she's in a bad mood? Who the heck does she think she is? Does it mean that assistants are inferior? Su Bei, with this sort of attitude, you will never succeed. All these harsh words flooded Su Bei's ears. However, she kept a calm face, and her features weren't creased in the slightest, as if nothing had happened. She looked at Xiao Tong plainly and asked, "Are you done scolding me? Is it my turn now?" Seeing her respond in such a calm way, Xiao Tong didn't know what to say. She just stared at Su Bei with hatred. Su Bei bent down, picked up the shoes on the ground, and held them up for everyone to see. There is something wrong with these shoes. I couldn't keep my balance on them. I'm truly sorry for Assistant Liao's injury. In fact, she had just wanted to pull Liao Yuhui to the floor to teach her a lesson. She hadn't expected that Liao Yuhui would get seriously injured. Everyone's eyes fell on the shoes in Su Bei's hands, and they saw that the platforms of the shoes were broken. One of the models immediately spoke up for Su Bei. Those heels are actually very high, and the platforms of the shoes are broken. It's definitely not Su Bei's fault that she lost balance and fell down. Models were always disgusted with the existence of such logistical problems at a high-end fashion show like this, so they immediately took Su Bei's side. I think the logistics assistants should be held accountable for these kinds of problems. Su Bei just fell down by accident. It's not her fault. Liao Yuhui's face turned pale, and a bad feeling rose in her heart. How could this happen? Why did the platforms break so soon? Xiao Tong's expression also changed. Since the shoes were broken, she had obviously gone overboard just now while scolding Su Bei. But she still said stubbornly, Su Bei's the one who kept asking Yuhui to bring new shoes. If she hadn't done that, she wouldn't have ended up with a faulty pair of shoes. If she had just worn the first pair of shoes that Yui brought for her, then none of this would have happened. It's all because of her bad temper, okay? With a bright smile on her red lips, Su Bei said, You're right. I should have just worn one of the first 2 pairs of shoes that she brought me. But before I put them on, can you check them for me? I'm afraid that if the same thing happens again, I'm not the only one who will suffer. All of you assistants will have to take responsibility as well. What do you think? The logistics assistants standing there all thought that Su Bei's words made sense. They had come to the Orisa show not just to be an assistant, but also to find new opportunities and get ahead in their career. If there was a problem during the first test, and they had to take responsibility for it, it would be a stain on their resume. They might not be able to get other opportunities, or even a promotion in the future. Liao Yuhui didn't have time to stop Xiao Tong, who was straightforward and quick in action. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Tong had already picked up the 2 pairs of shoes that Su Bei had refused and checked them. Liao Yuhui had no choice but to look to Su Huixian for help. However, Su Huixian lowered her gaze and played with the bracelet on her wrist. She didn't say anything, because she thought that it was none of her business. Liao Yuhui had taken action all on her own. Even if someone had to take responsibility for this mess, it had nothing to do with her. So she just maintained a decent smile on her face. Chapter 27. Here are your shoes. While she watched their every little movement, the corner of Su Bei's lips lifted in a faint sneer. 5 years had passed, but Su Huixian hadn't made any progress. She still used the same old tricks from before to deal with her. She really hadn't changed at all. Xiao Tong checked the shoes and quickly realized there was something wrong. As she put pressure on them, the platforms broke, making it easy to slip on them. What's going on? Liao Yuhui, can you explain this to us? Xiao Tong was both ashamed and angry. Holding the shoes in her hands, she yelled at Liao Yuhui. I thought you could be trusted. These shoes had been properly kept and checked all the time. Why did they break all of a sudden? I don't know. I don't know what happened. Liao Yuhui was scared. These shoes were all provided by the sponsors, and there was a specific person assigned to take care of them backstage. If the investigators looked into what caused this accident, they would quickly find it was her fault. If she had to make up for the damage, it would cost her all the money she made in the past 2 years. She wouldn't be in this trouble if her plan had gone well, and Su Bei's ankle was really sprained. In that case, Su Huixian would certainly help her deal with the aftermath. But now, everything was a mess, and it seemed that Su Huixian didn't want to intervene in this matter at all. Liao Yui felt so regretful. She would pay a huge price for a moment of impulse. Xiao Tong couldn't help but be furious at the scheming woman, so she continued to shout. If you don't know, who does? Su Bei. She had never been here before. If you have anything to say to defend yourself, just go and tell the supervisor. Then Xiao Tong turned around and bowed deeply to Su Bei. I'm sorry, Miss Su. I was rash and misjudged you just now. Please accept my apology. It's your internal business. You can handle it among yourselves. Now, can anyone find me a suitable pair of shoes? Su Bei asked calmly. Immediately, Xiao Tong asked another person to assist Su Bei. The next moment, she and several other assistants brought Liao Yuhui to the supervisor in order to understand more about what happened. As the other models were also in a hurry to get ready, they demanded, "We also want to have our shoes and clothes checked again. If something goes wrong, we can't afford to take responsibility for it." Su Huixian dug her nails into her palms as she cursed Su Bei inwardly. Qiu Minxian also rushed to prepare the shoes and clothes for Su Huixian. As for Su Bei, her shoe problem persisted. Since Liao Yuhui had intentionally ruined every pair of shoes which could fit her, Su Bei had nothing to wear now. "Miss Su, maybe you can wear a slightly larger size. I'll find some insoles for you. It's the only way to deal with shoes that don't fit." This assistant was very polite. "Okay," Su Bei nodded. Su Bei understood this was all that could be done now. As a model, it was common for her to meet this kind of problem. Sometimes, the shoes provided by the sponsors didn't fit perfectly. Besides, her feet were narrow and long, so it was unlikely to find her a pair that fit at the last minute. Gladly, Su Bei had already studied the basic skills her profession required. She would try her best to walk on the stage in the most difficult circumstances, without jeopardizing her own safety and health. While Su Bei waited for the insoles, a man in a suit rushed in, holding a pair of shoes in his hand, which came from today's sponsor. "Miss Su, here are your shoes." Chapter 28 Limited Edition Shoes. The models who were trying on their shoes all raised their heads and looked over. The man was holding a transparent shoebox in his hand. The shoes inside, and the logo of the brand they were from were clearly visible. Seeing the shoes held by the man, all the models could not help being envious. These shoes, which had been specially sent here, would be a perfect fit for the woman that they were meant for. Naturally, all the models wanted to wear a pair of shoes that fit well on their feet. Unfortunately, common models like them didn't have any choice, and they didn't have enough money to buy their own clothes and shoes, so they could only surmount such difficulties by themselves. As soon as Qiu Minxian heard that the shoes were for Miss Su, she immediately exclaimed, "Huixian, Mr. Luo has sent someone to give you those shoes." "Huixian, you are so lucky," a model who knew Su Huixian well said enviously. "At home, your father treats you as the apple of his eye. At work, you have a boyfriend who cares about you so much. As for you, you are still working so hard. All of these help you get ahead in life. Yes, the shoes are from the same brand as this show, so they are acceptable for the first test. Su Huixian, please show us mercy later and give us a chance, okay? After all, you already have a perfect life." With a bright smile on her face, Su Huixian said, "Before leaving the house this morning, I told Du Luo that every time, the shoes backstage vary considerably in size and are uncomfortable to wear. But it's not appropriate for me to personally prepare a pair of shoes." I didn't know that he was really paying attention to what I said. Of course he was. "Mr. Luo always takes your words very seriously," Qiu Minxian said flatteringly. Hearing the mention of Du Luo, Su Bei sighed in her heart. The light in her eyes dimmed, and the sadness that she had felt in the past began to fill her eyes. However, she had already learned to forget it and let it go. Qiu Minxian said, "We have to hurry up. Change your shoes now. Please give that to me." Qiu Minxian said to the man who was holding the shoebox. "Excuse me, are you Miss Su?" the man asked. Qiu Minxian smiled. "Of course not, but I'm Miss Su's agent. I'll take it for her. Is that okay?" "Sure." The man respectfully handed the shoebox to Qiu Minxian. When Qiu Minxian opened the box and saw the shoes inside, she couldn't help gushing. "Wow, they are limited edition shoes. Huixian, come and look at this." When Su Huixian lowered her head and saw the shoes, she was filled with delight. "Wow, they're awesome," an assistant said, stepping forward. "Are you familiar with today's sponsor? Their regular products might be common, but their limited edition ones are very difficult to have. People have to queue up and reserve in advance before getting their hands on them. What's more, this pair of shoes costs 30,000. They are only provided for the red carpet. It's said that the soles of these shoes are handmade from wild cotton picked from a tall mountain." Hearing this, the other assistants all gathered around to take a look at the shoes. Although the other models conducted themselves with dignity, they couldn't help but sneak a glance at the shoes from the corner of their eyes. The income of ordinary models was quite low. Only international supermodels had the kind of income that was comparable to that of superstars. For ordinary models, 30,000 was a big amount of money. What was more enviable was Du Luo's thoughtfulness. Su Huixian smiled elegantly. Chapter 29 Su Bei didn't come out after a long time. Du Luo had treated her better and better. He was gentle and considerate. It was clear that he paid attention to the smallest details. This pair of shoes not only showed his love, but they also made her feel proud in front of her peers. Minxian, help me put on those shoes. Su Huixian smiled elegantly and sat down under everyone's envious gaze. Miss Su, please sign for the package. The man who had brought the shoe box held out a receipt and a pen. Qiu Minxian smiled and said, You badly want Huixian's signature, don't you? Huixian, you can give him more of your signatures. Su Huixian took the receipt and pen and signed her name on the paper. The man frowned at her signature and said, Miss Su, please sign your real name. This is my real name. I've never used a stage name since I started my career. Su Huixian explained patiently. After all, she was in a good mood. I'm really sorry then. This pair of shoes is meant for Miss Su Bei. Please return the shoes if you are not Su Bei. The man bowed and immediately packed the shoes back into the shoebox. Fortunately, they hadn't been worn yet. Su Huixian's face changed dramatically when she heard this. How could it be possible? These shoes weren't a gift to her from Du Luo? Qiu Minxian was just as shocked. Are you sure? Who would send such an expensive gift to Su Bei? I mean, Huixian is usually the only one who receives this sort of treatment. Ignoring Qiu Minxian, the man turned around and asked, Is Miss Su Bei here? Yes, it's me. Su Bei slowly walked towards the man, wondering who would gift her such an expensive pair of shoes. Her friends from the US couldn't have acted so timely, and she didn't have such intimate friends at home. Miss Su, please sign for the shoes. I'm so sorry. I almost made a mistake. After Su Bei signed her name on the receipt, the man bowed and left. There were sneers all around the room, and some of the women's shoulders were shaking. Obviously, they were trying their best to hold back their laughter, at least for Su Huixian's sake. Someone even whispered to her friend and laughed at Su Huixian's narcissism. Although their voices were low, Su Huixian still heard their harsh words. Qiu Minxian also felt guilty. I'm sorry, Huixian. It's all my fault. I spoke too hastily. Su Huixian was so angry that she dug her nails into her palms. Su Bei. Why is it Su Bei again? She always steals my thunder. But on the outside, her lips curved up into a gentle smile. I'm really sorry, Su Bei. I didn't know that it was for you. I didn't know that you have such a rich and considerate friend. Su Bei smiled at her but said nothing. Then, she bent down and put on the limited edition shoes. They fit her feet perfectly. She stood up and walked a few steps. The shoes were very comfortable to walk in. Everyone get ready. Enter the hall when it's your turn. A staff member walked in at that moment and gave everyone instructions. All the models have 2 minutes for the first test. Once you're done with your turn, you can wait in the lobby. The name list for the second test will be revealed later. It was just a very brief test that lasted only 2 minutes. Soon it was Su Bei's turn. She was well prepared, and the episode just now had no effect on her. She didn't make any mistakes at all during her turn. Su Huixian went into the test hall right before Su Bei and came out before her. After coming out, she saw Su Bei enter the test hall, but the latter did not come out of it after a long time. Chapter 30. There was no need to tell you. The models who entered the test hall after Su Bei came out one by one, but she still didn't see Su Bei. Minxian, go and find out what happened, Su Huixian ordered. Qiu Minxian went to the backstage area at once. After searching for a while, she couldn't find Su Bei, but instead, she got wind of an explosive piece of news. Huixian, did you hear? People are saying that a model secretly gave a gift box containing a condom to one of the judges. So, that model has lost her qualification to participate in the first test. Yes, I heard it too. Everyone in the lobby was discussing the same thing, and their voices had reached her ears. It has to be Su Bei, right? Only that idiot has done such a thing. No one else is as stupid as her, Qiu Minxian said. Su Huixian maintained the gentle smile on her face. Since Su Bei hadn't come out yet, it could be her. But this matter happened a few days ago, right? Why didn't it become public until now? I guess that judge didn't make it public because he wanted to teach Su Bei a lesson in front of everyone else, Qiu Minxian answered. Su Huixian nodded. Okay then, let's wait for the results. Su Bei might have been in the spotlight and punished Liao Yuhui today, but in the end, she was still going to be kicked out of the show. The other models in the lobby continued to discuss the matter. Who on earth would be shameless enough to do such a thing? It's an embarrassment to all the models in S country. Whoever dared to do this She's just digging her own grave. Well, as long as she doesn't get us into trouble, I'm fine with everything that will happen. Su Bei had finished the first test, but instead of going to the lobby, she headed straight to the office of the logistics department. Liao Yuhui was inside, packing up her stuff. Since she had broken several pairs of shoes and almost hurt a model, she had been dismissed by the supervisor. After packing her things, she looked up and saw Su Bei standing in front of her. She sneered. "Miss Su, are you here to laugh at me?" "Well, I don't really find this funny, do you?" Su Bei asked. She looked as elegant as ever. "Then why are you here? Do you think that you did a great thing just now? You even gave up your own future for Su Huixian's sake. Do you think she is worth it?" Liao Yuhui was stunned. "She has always been good to me. She has never treated me like the daughter of a servant, unlike some lady who has always looked down on me." "Liao Yuhui, tell me, do you think highly of your own mother?" Liao Yuhui was rendered speechless. "Who do you think helped your mother get the free medicine for her chronic blood disease for the past dozen years?" "It was my mother, and then me," Su Bei said plainly. "My mother and I just don't like to talk about such things." Liao Yuhui's face paled after hearing this. "Really? Why have you never mentioned this to me before?" "There was no need to tell you about it," Su Bei replied calmly. It was obvious that she didn't think that she had done anyone a great favor, and that she didn't expect any reward for doing a good deed. Liao Yuhui knew that Su Bei wouldn't lie to her. After all, with her identity and social status, Su Bei didn't have to lie about such a trivial matter. Besides, she could find out the truth with a simple investigation. However, she had hurt Su Bei, the one who had real. Chapter 31. How could that be? Liao Yuhui's lips and hands trembled. How could she do such a stupid thing? "Then why are you telling me this now?" Her voice was weak and low, no longer showing the aggression from before. "Because I thought it was necessary now." There was a trace of calmness and generosity in Su Bei's delicate eyes. Liao Yuhui grasped the belongings in her hands tightly, while Su Bei turned around and walked away calmly. The sound of her high heels clicking on the floor lingered in her nerves. The lobby was already crowded with people waiting for the result to come out. 20 models would be able to get in the second round test. Therefore, everyone was anxiously waiting to find out who would get the opportunity to step onto an international catwalk. As soon as Su Bei came out of the backstage, she replaced the smile on her face with an aloof expression. "Su Bei is coming," Qiu Minxian whispered to Su Huixian. Faking a heartfelt smile, Su Huixian asked with concern, "Is everything okay, Su Bei?" Su Bei nodded casually in response. Su Huixian was satisfied. As expected, Su Bei's matter was exposed, and the situation with the condom had come in handy. "Su Bei, you are not a match for me," she thought. Qiu Minxian stood up and came to Su Bei with a smile. "Don't worry, Su Bei. You're still young. If you fail now, you can try again in the future." "How do you know I'll fail the test, Minxian?" Su Bei put on a bright smile as she asked curiously. "Whether a model will pass the test or not depends a lot on her qualifications. So I was just guessing." Qiu Minxuan's face remained calm. The corners of Su Bei's lips lifted further as she looked away casually. "The result is out," someone exclaimed. Everyone's eyes were focused on the big screen. The announcement was fair and entirely open to the public. The names of the 20 candidates who got into the next phase began to appear one by one on the screen. The first 10 were supermodels of S country, who had already stood out internationally. While some people were gratified with the results so far, others sighed and continued to wait anxiously. When the 13th name appeared, Qiu Minxian said happily, "Congratulations, Huixian. You're in the second round." Su Huixian stood up, overjoyed to see her name on the screen. She hadn't trained day and night for nothing after all. Perhaps she had been too strict with herself, but it was worth it in order to get such a result today. She beamed gently and said, "Let's go." "Let's go, Su Bei," Qiu Minxian said to the other woman. As Qiu Minxian and Su Huixian spoke, the name of the 18th model was showing on the screen. At this point, Su Bei must have failed. However, realizing that she was still going to wait, Qiu Minxian followed Su Huixian towards the exit. The two of them didn't believe Su Bei would get in anyway. Even if she wanted to stay and see the results to the end, she would be wasting her time. Then all of a sudden someone whispered, "Who is Su Bei? This name sounds unfamiliar. I've never heard of it before. It's the model who received the shoes earlier. Haven't you heard?" Su Huixian turned around unconsciously, and saw the 20th name on the big screen to enter the second round. The model was none other than Su Bei. Su Bei. How could that be? How could she qualify for the next phase? In shock, Qiu Minxian asked. How did she manage to get in? Chapter 32 Inexplicable Panic. Su Huixian bit hard on her lower lip and quickly calmed herself down. She is just qualified for the next phase. It doesn't mean she'll walk on the stage of the international fashion show. Do you think she will become one of those 5 lucky models who get selected? Of course not. Despite verbally agreeing with Su Huixian, professionally, Qiu Minxian thought that Su Bei was more likely to succeed as an international model than her half-sister. Su Bei left the lobby at ease. Everyone knew that the criteria for selecting models for the Arisa show was the strictest and the fairest, so the chances were equal to all the models. Su Bei was confident for the next test. As she walked out of the hotel, she was about to call a taxi. However, the Bentley that drove her there in the morning soon stopped next to her. Get in the car. The car window was rolled down, revealing Liu Heading's handsome side face. Mr. Liu, haven't you left yet? Su Bei asked in surprise. The test had lasted for several hours. It was already afternoon. Still, not only had Liu Heading stayed, but he also found out about her dilemma through the surveillance video and sent her the limited edition shoes in time. The moment he saw that she had almost sprained her ankle, an inexplicable panic came over him. It turned out that she was more important to him than he thought. The corner of his sexy, thin lips lifted slightly. I found a moment of leisure in my busy life. Once Su Bei got in the car, suddenly something occurred to her, and she asked, Mr. Liu, did you ask someone to send me a pair of shoes? Yes. They're too expensive, but I really appreciate that you fixed my problem. She heaved a sigh. Although he worked for Liu Group, it shouldn't be easy for a driver to afford shoes that cost so much. It's my honor to help you. Su Bei then asked with a smile. But how did you know my size? Hasn't it been posted on the official website? After giving it some thought, Su Bei nodded. She couldn't help appreciating his kindness. She had received many gifts that were way more expensive than these pair of shoes, yet few of them had warmed her heart in the same way. On the surface, the man looked cool, but his consideration and sensitivity really touched her. Handing him the box in her hands, she said, I only wore them for a few minutes. They have been well kept since then, so there's no trace that they have been worn before. Where did you buy the shoes? Maybe you can still return them. It's just a pair of shoes. I might not make much money, but I'm not a big spender either. Since they fit you so well, they should be yours. Su Bei shook her head and said, No way, Mr. Liu. Why don't you tell me where you bought them? I can help you return them. Su Bei had always been generous. Since she had been born in a wealthy family, she had never worried about money before. However, after she had been diagnosed with gastric cancer, she had changed a lot. De Bao was still very young and had many years to live. She had to save money for his sake. Realizing that she wouldn't take the shoes, Liu Heading frowned slightly, as if he was worried about something. Miss Su, when you left me on our wedding day, were you afraid I couldn't support you? Liu Heading did his best to suppress the emotions that memory invoked. It seemed he still held a grudge against what happened 5 years ago. Support me. Tilting her head to the side, Su Bei looked even more lovely as her chestnut curly hair shaped her delicate face. Why should you support me? No one will stay by your side all the time. I don't think it's a good idea to let someone support me. I can do it myself. I like to earn my own money and spend it as I want. It's cool. Chapter 33 The one who doesn't deserve the position will suffer. What if the person who likes you is a rich man and can provide you a strong backing? Won't it be a very good opportunity for you to make it into the entertainment industry with lesser efforts? Liu Heading said in a low voice. Well, if I happen to like him too, I can let him support me, or I can even support him. Su Bei replied with a smile. Her words caused a stir in Liu Heading's heart. Then Su Bei's red lips twitched slightly. But if I don't like him, it's useless even if he gives me billions of money. What can I give in return for the resources he will give me? My ability? What's the use of relying on him, if I am already capable enough? And if I don't have the ability, what can I trade? My body and soul? The one who doesn't deserve the position will suffer. What's more, the gifts given by fate have long been secretly priced. Liu Heading's heart skipped a beat while listening to Su Bei's words quietly. She looked arrogant and unruly on the surface, but she was so smart to figure out so many things. However, his heart also sank. He couldn't help but feel afraid that his real identity would scare her, and she would stay away from him. He might even make her run away again, just like what she did 5 years ago. Sube turned her head and looked at Liu Heading seriously. Then she suddenly smiled and said, "Mr. Liu, are you asking about my private life?" "Sort of." "Then, how about we take this chance to know each other? Can I ask you about your private life too?" Sube asked. She thought that this was a good chance for her to ask him about his current relationship status. Last time, he refused to answer her. She wasn't sure if he'd refuse again this time. Liu Heading's mood lightened up because of Sube's initiative. With his eyes fixed ahead, he said in a soft voice, "Then shall I pick you up from now on?" Since she wanted them to get to know each other, he chose to use the way of spending more time with her. It was supposed to be a question, but he said it in a firm tone, logical and clear, giving her no chance to refuse. Liu Heading's voice was mature and sexy. Although it was a short and simple sentence, Sube found it so attractive that her heart almost jumped. "Calm down," she told herself, patting her chest. He was her husband before, but she didn't know if he still was, or if he had another woman now. "You're going to pick me up every day?" Sube asked, looking at Liu Heading's handsome face while he focused on driving. "Yes, I will try my best." She smiled brightly, thinking that she could take this opportunity to know more about him. Only when she made sure that he was a trustworthy man would she return Dabao to him and recognize him as Dabao's father. Liu Heading tilted his head and glanced at her. There he noticed the hint of joy flashing through her eyes. It pleased him. It turned out that she also liked meeting him in some way. Sube smiled and said, "You know what? I admire you. You are focused, calm, and have a certain degree of freedom to do what you want. You don't have to fight for anything, and you can enjoy your leisure time. It's really great." She hoped that Dabao could also live such a peaceful and great life with him in the future. All of a sudden, Sube felt a spasm in her stomach. "Oh no, my stomach aches." A bad feeling surged up in her heart. Since she was diagnosed with advanced gastric cancer in the United States, she had given up the treatment. She only took medicine when she felt severe pain occasionally. The doctor advised her to undergo chemotherapy. However, she didn't want to waste her precious time. She needed to find support for Dabao. What was more, she also didn't want to lose her pretty chestnut curly hair. She hated to endure her ugly appearance before she left the world. Chapter 34. Since she liked him as a driver, then he could be a driver. However, Sube didn't bring any medicine with her today. "Oh, Mr. Liu, I remember that I still have some work to do. Please let me get off here," she begged, trying to keep her eyes and delicate eyebrows calm. She couldn't show even the slightest trace of pain in front of him. Liu Heading stopped the car steadily. Sube waved at him and said, "See you later, Mr. Liu." Her voice that rose briskly made Liu Heading's heart skip a beat. Watching her slender back fading away, he started the car again and drove forward. He then took out his phone, dialed a number and said, "I want a driver's schedule and a small house in a common community." Since she liked him as a driver, then he could be a driver. Sube went to a pharmacy and bought some medicine. She then sat down near the door. When she thought of Dabao, her lips curved into a gentle smile. She took out her phone and called him. Dabao answered the phone immediately. He said in a cool voice, "Xiaobei." "Dabao, Xiaobei misses you so much. Although we've only been separated for a short time, it feels like a lifetime. Do you miss me too?" Sube said softly with a bright smile on her face. "Really? But we exchange messages on WeChat every day." Dabao replied. The way he spoke was exactly the same as Liu Heading. They were both indifferent, but a little warm. Oh no, Liu Heading was not warm. It was just her imagination. But messages are not enough. They are cold. "I want to hear your warm voice all the time," Sube snorted. Dabao still sounded very calm when he said, "Actually, I miss you too. Your voice is also very pleasing to the ear. You don't sound sincere and enthusiastic at all. I miss you so much. I miss you so much. Is that okay now?" Dabao's voice came through the phone again. Sube nodded. "Well, that will do. By the way, be a good boy when you are with Mommy Molly, okay? Always listen to her. I'll come and pick you up soon." "Have you met him?" "Yes, I have. He's so handsome and elegant, just like you, Dabao," Sube replied in a joyful tone. But there were worries buried deep inside her heart. She had already seen Liu Heading, but she hadn't found out what she wanted to know yet. Liu Heading didn't drop any hints. "But it's okay. I'll try my best and spend more time with him," she comforted herself. He's as handsome as me? Dabao asked. No. I've made a mistake. He is not as handsome as you. He is almost as handsome as you. Subei covered her mouth. Xiaobei, maybe he is a good man. I think you have to focus on whether he is married or not, and if he has any other women. Dabao's voice was as decisive and crisp as ever. Why do you say so? Subei asked with a smile. First, he has been working in the dignified Lu group for many years. It only proves that he has a steady mindset. Second, he has a son like me. Of course, it's because of your excellent genes, Xiaobei. But we can't deny the fact that his genes are also indispensable in this aspect. Subei was amused by how serious Dabao's tone was. He sounded just like his father, Lu Heading. Based on his theories, Lu Heading was totally trustworthy. Third, I've checked and found that he has never been involved in any fights, gambling, and stealing in the community over the years. And fourth, my intuition. Subei couldn't restrain herself from laughing at Dabao's words. After a long while, she said in a low voice, Dabao, your judgment is very reasonable. However, if he has already been married, it only means that you will have a difficult time in the future, because we have to take care of ourselves on our own. That's not a problem, Dabao said in a determined tone. Chapter 35. Can you be my wife? After hanging up the phone, Subei took out the medicine bottle and poured out 2 pills onto her palm. When she was about to pop the pills into her mouth, she realized that she had forgotten to buy water. But before she could stand up, a bottle of children's milk was pushed into her hands. It was followed by a cute childish voice saying, Big sister, you can drink this. Subei looked down and saw a little boy about 3 or 4 years old standing in front of her. With his round face and bubbly nature, he was so cute that she wanted to pinch his little cheeks. The little boy looked at Subei with his big bright eyes. Why don't you drink it? Medicine will taste very bitter, but you won't feel it if you drink this milk. Thank you. Looking at his cute and innocent eyes, Subei felt her heart melt. She couldn't refuse his kindness, so she took the milk bottle from him and pinched his little face. In fact, the boy was so adorable that she just wanted to take him home with her. The smile on the boy's face widened when he saw Subei take the milk bottle. Looking at the little boy reminded Subei of her other child. If that baby hadn't been born with a disease, he would have grown up to be as adorable as this boy in front of her. She was sure that if that child was still alive, he would resemble her. Since Dabao looked like Lu Heading, the other baby must look like her. Big sister, what are you thinking about? Big sister. Seeing that Subei was immersed in her own thoughts, the little boy anxiously waved his little hand in front of her. When he had first seen Subei, he had wanted to talk to her earnestly, but now that she had an empty look in her eyes and seemed to be in her own world, he felt upset to the point of wanting to cry. Subei came to her senses and asked with a smile, Little cutie, where are your parents? I have to go now. As she spoke, she looked around but didn't see anyone. Gun held Subei's leg and looked up at her eagerly. Pretty big sister, my name is Gun. What's your name? He asked enthusiastically. Oh, your name is Gun. My name is Subei, Subei said with a chuckle. In the language of S country, Gun meant round and cute, so it was a fitting name for this boy. He had short arms and a small round face. His pure and innocent smile would light up anyone's day. Bei, can you give me a hug? The little boy asked as he held his arms open. He could see that Subei was hesitating, so he clutched her legs and tried to climb up her body like a little monkey. Subei couldn't resist the little boy, so she picked him up. Now that he could have a closer look at Subei's face, the little boy beamed and said happily, Bei, you are so beautiful. Daddy said that I could marry a lovely girl in the future. You are the most lovely girl I have ever seen. So can you be my wife? Subei was amused by his words. Do you know what a wife is? Yes, it means the girl I like. Well, you can't get married until you are 18 years old. Looking at his round face, Subei guessed that his father must love his mother very much. That was why he had such ideas at such a young age. Then can you wait until I am 18 years old? I've already blown out the candles 4 times. If I blow out the candles 14 more times, can we get married? Well, let's talk about it when that time comes, said Subei, affectionately rubbing his round face. Okay, it's a deal. Gun gave Subei a peck on the cheek. It's a deal. After that, Gun let go of her and ran towards a middle-aged woman in her 50s. Chapter 36. Will anger solve the problem? Gun Gun had already walked far away when Sube realized that she was still holding the bottle of milk in her hand. Thinking of the enthusiastic words he had said just now, Sube smiled. This child is totally different from Dabao, she thought to herself. If her other child was still alive. She shook her head, not wanting to think about it anymore. Mr. Gun Gun, where did you go just now? You can't talk to strangers just like that. Your father will scold me if he finds out. The middle-aged woman in her 50s was actually Gun Gun's nanny, who had come to pick him up from school. I wasn't talking to a stranger. Her name is Bei. She's a lovely girl. When I become an adult, I will marry her. Gun Gun said happily. All of a sudden something occurred to him, and he shouted, Wait! Stop the car. I want to go back. The driver stopped the car in a hurry. Gun Gun immediately opened the car door, jumped out, and ran back to the place where he had met Sube. But by the time he got there, she had disappeared. He couldn't find her anywhere. Mr. Gun Gun, what's wrong? The nanny asked, gasping for breath after trying to catch up with him. Tears welled up in Gun Gun's eyes. He had forgotten to ask Bei for her phone number. She had promised him that she would wait until he turned 18. But he didn't know how to contact her. Would she still wait for him? When Gun Gun returned to the Lu Hu International Villa, he was in low spirits. Hi, Daddy. After greeting the man on the sofa in a dull voice, Gun Gun went upstairs, feeling distressed. The elegant man on the sofa was Lu Heading. He put down the financial newspaper in his hand, with a flash of confusion in his eyes. What's wrong? It seems that Mr. Gun Gun has fallen in love, the nanny said in a low voice. Lu Heading strode upstairs, and saw Gun Gun sulking on the bed. Gun Gun. Lu Heading called as he reached out and picked him up. Gun Gun was so worked up that his chest was heaving in and out. Blinking his eyes, he said, I met a lovely girl today, but I forgot to ask her for her phone number. So you are angry with yourself? Yes. Gun Gun was mad at himself for being so distracted by Sube's lovely face that he had forgotten to ask her for her number. Lu Heading patted him on the back and asked, Will anger solve the problem? No. Gun Gun answered slowly, pouting, but he couldn't stop being angry. Calm down then. When you make a mistake, you should learn your lesson, so that you won't repeat it next time. Besides, if you are destined to meet this girl, you will meet her again, Lu Heading said in a low voice. Will I really see her again? Gun Gun stood up. I'm not sure, but miracles do exist in this world. Gun Gun threw his arms around his father's neck and asked, Daddy, will you let me marry that girl? If you like her and she likes you, of course I will, Lu Heading said, nodding. Gun Gun felt much better after hearing this. At least his father was on his side no matter what. After the first test was over, Sube took rest for 2 days. She bought many groceries, and went to Lin Moli's house to cook several big meals for her and Dabao. During this time, she had no need to travel in a car. So she didn't use the taxi app, nor did she contact Lu Heading. Lu Heading kept looking at his phone and swiping the screen. He would occasionally stop, only to unlock his phone again a few seconds later. His assistant found his behavior very strange. There was something wrong with Mr. Lu's mental state these days. Although he was still doing well at work, he was not as self-disciplined as he usually was. Chapter 37: A Subtle Look. Translator, Mobo Reader Editor, Mobo Reader. Here is your coffee, Mr. Lu. The assistant put down the coffee on the table and inadvertently caught a glimpse of the app that Lu Heading clicked on his phone. It was a taxi-hailing app. Lu Heading did not only download one app, but almost all taxi-hailing apps available in the market. 1. Was Mr. Lu planning to purchase these companies? As soon as he went out, he saw Lu Weijian coming over swaggeringly. Mr. Weijian, may I ask you a question? Does our company plan to venture into taxi-hailing business? He asked carefully. He was afraid that he might have misunderstood Lu Heading's intention just now. The assistant didn't know what was really on Lu Heading's mind, and he didn't dare to ask. No. Why do you ask? The assistant said. Mr. Lu seems to be in a bad mental state, and he seems to have been focusing on taxi-hailing apps. I'm just a little worried, so I've decided to ask you about it. What? My brother is checking on taxi-hailing apps? Lu Weijian was also confused. Both the Lu family and their company had enough cars and drivers. Besides, Lu Heading liked driving by himself. Why would he use such apps? But he just shrugged his shoulders and said, maybe he really wants to purchase those companies. Just prepare the information in case he needs it. Satisfied with his answer, The assistant nodded and thanked him. The second round of the test in Arisa's show finally came. It would be at 7 o'clock in the evening. The night before the test, Sube stayed in Lin Moli's house to prepare a sumptuous dinner for Dabao and Lin Moli. When she got up early that morning, Dabao, who was a self-disciplined boy, was already washing his face and brushing his teeth. She kissed him on the forehead and said, "I'm going to the company for training." "Okay, take care of yourself," Dabao said and added, "Also, you can definitely do it." "For sure." Sube blew him a kiss. Watching her running away, Dabao put down his toothbrush, took out his iPad and tapped on it. A question appeared on the screen. "Do you want to continue to invade the financial system of Lu Group?" He clicked on the word continue. He would like to know what kind of person Lu Heading was. Only 2 people from Qianyu Entertainment Company got into the second round of the test. One was Su Bei, and the other was Su Huixian. The company had high expectations of them, and even arranged a professional instructor to train them. 1. Su Bei and Su Huixian had been working hard to prepare for the test. The instructor couldn't help but praise them with a smile. "Huixian and Su Bei, you are both doing a good job. I hope you can maintain your performance during the second round test." Qiu Minxian smiled and asked, "Instructor, what do you think of Huixian's performance? Do you think she can pass the second round test and become a formal member of the show?" Qiu Minxian knew Su Huixian's preferences very well. Su Huixian liked listening to other people's praises, so she meant to flatter Su Huixian. The instructor smiled and replied, "I have great hopes for her. She just needs to keep working on it." However, his eyes fell on Su Bei for a few more seconds. From his professional perspective, Su Bei was more suitable for the show. She had better physical conditions and more inimitable symbols. Generally, inimitable symbols deviated from people's aesthetic standards easily, but Su Bei was outstandingly beautiful. That was why he really appreciated her excellent conditions. As for walking on the runway, Su Bei was clearly the superior person as well. In order not to offend Su Huixian, the instructor responded politely, but the subtle look in his eyes made Su Huixian realize Su Bei's overwhelming advantage. Chapter 38. Should I also let her take my job? Translator, Mobile Reader Editor, Mobile Reader. When Su Huixian returned to the lounge, the expression on her face darkened. Qiu Minxian, who followed her, said, "Huixian, I think that instructor doesn't have a professional perspective at all. If he is really good at judging a person's ability, he won't be staying here as a mere instructor for such a long time. What do you think?" "I actually don't take his words seriously," Su Huixian replied while looking at herself in the mirror. She also had a beautiful face, gentler and more approachable than Su Bei. However, this kind of beauty was a huge disadvantage for models. She wanted to retouch her makeup, so she took out her pressed powder. But when she touched the surface of the pressed powder, she exerted so much strength on her fingers, as if she was going to crush it. Didn't Su Bei leave 5 years ago? She had been away from the Su family and the Du family for several years. The 2 families didn't welcome her anymore. Why did she have to come back? Qianyu Entertainment Company already had Su Huixian. Why did Su Bei still want a piece of the pie? Why did Su Bei always come to take everything that belonged to her? "Minxian, who do you think is more hopeful, Su Bei or me?" Su Huixian asked Qiu Minxian, while looking at her image in the mirror. Qiu Minxian pinched her shoulders and said, "Of course it's you, Huixian. What are you thinking? Why does Su Bei take everything that belongs to you? Huixian, you must have confidence in yourself. I will definitely stand out and become one of the 5 selected models. But I don't want Su Bei to be even on the list." Su Huixian leaned against the back of the chair and added, "She stole my father and my boyfriend before. Should I also let her take my job?" Qiu Minxian understood what Su Huixian meant. Last time, Su Huixian framed Su Bei using a condom, but she failed. Su Bei was able to get out of the trouble. But this time, Qiu Minxian would never allow Su Bei to get through again. Su Bei was finally free at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The training was hard and exhausting, but she also had lots of fun. As she walked on the stage, sweat trickled down her forehead. But she felt relaxed both physically and mentally. With a bath towel and her clothes in her hands, she went to the shower room to take a shower and wash away all her sweat. A small face appeared in the mirror. It was pure and beautiful without any makeup. Su Bei wiped the remaining water stains on her face and stared at her delicate and fresh eyebrows that were never trimmed and her long curly eyelashes. She smiled at her reflection. She rarely wore makeup, but she was still beautiful enough. However, during the second round test, she didn't have any choice but to put on some makeup. Chiu Minxian suddenly appeared behind her and said with a smile, "Su Bei, the company has arranged a car for you. You can go there in a while. I hope your test goes well." "Thank you." With a faint smile, Su Bei walked out together with Su Huixian. "Miss Su, your car is here. Please get in." The driver courteously opened the car door for Su Huixian to get in. Su Huixian got into a $1 million car, followed by Chiu Minxian. Su Huixian smiled at Su Bei and said, "Su Bei, I'm leaving first." Then an ordinary car stopped in front of Su Bei. Su Huixian's car had everything she needed: a sofa, a bed, a wardrobe, and a cosmetics cabinet. She could enjoy all the comfort and convenience. On the other hand, Su Bei's car had nothing but seats. Su Bei knew the rules of the entertainment industry. It was a winner-take-all kind of industry. Even if she and Su Huixian had the same agent, they had different recognition, so they were given completely different treatments. She was just a newcomer, while Su Huixian was already quite famous. And Su Huixian seemed to be the top-ranking star in Qianyu Entertainment Company at the moment. Chapter 39. Hadn't she agreed to get to know each other? Translator, Mobile Reader Editor, Mobile Reader. As soon as Su Bei got in the car, it followed the nanny van unhurriedly. She looked out the window at the strange yet familiar landscape. She had lived in this city for 18 years, so a lot of places were still familiar to her. However, as the world kept changing, there were also many new details different from what she remembered. As she was deep in thought, the car continued to move. When Su Bei came to her senses, she suddenly saw a forest surrounded by winding mountain roads through the window. Surprised, she asked, "Sir, which road did you take?" "Minxian just said that there was a traffic jam ahead and asked us to change the route, Miss Su." The driver said confidently, "Don't worry. I'm very familiar with these roads in the mountain. You'll get there in time." As she heard this, Su Bei was a little relieved. She knew she could also reach the destination in this way. After checking her watch, she was glad to find there should be enough time. However, before Su Bei could rest assured, the car suddenly stopped with a click. The driver hurriedly said, "I'll get out to have a look." Su Bei also got off the car and found herself standing on the hillside road, surrounded by an empty area. The sky was already getting dark as the sun was setting in the distance. "How is it going?" Su Bei asked. "It broke down. There's something wrong with the circuit. I can't start the car." With a guilty look on his face, the driver apologized. "I'm sorry, Miss Su. I didn't expect that would happen." Su Bei knew that wasn't an accident. Whether the man was innocent or not, she didn't care at the moment. After Su Bei passed the first test, she gained benefits that weren't only for herself, but for the company as well. She didn't expect that Chiu Minxian would dare to mess with the company's affairs. "Miss Su, I called a towing company, but since here's so remote, and it's also the rush hour," the driver said apologetically. Su Bei then pulled her phone out and opened the app to call a taxi. After entering the destination, she realized she was in a far more remote place than she had imagined. If someone really came to pick her up, she wouldn't get to her test in time. Besides, it was the rush hour. In the application, the map was almost entirely red, which indicated that all roads were currently congested. In fact, if a driver took the order, he might not be able to get to her soon. Su Bei looked around and found that there was not even a shared bicycle in this damned place. When she didn't know what else to do, a man's stern face suddenly popped into her mind. As a full-time driver, he should be quite familiar with the roads and traffic conditions in Jingdu City. Maybe he would know a way to get her out of there in time. Without any hesitation, Su Bei grabbed her phone again and dialed Lu Heading's number. She prayed that he wouldn't be too busy at the moment and didn't have to pick up his boss. If she missed this opportunity, it might take a long time for another one to come. Other people could afford to wait, but she couldn't. Every second was way too precious to her. Meanwhile, Lu Heading was unconsciously running his finger across his phone's screen. 3 days had passed, but he never received another order from the taxi apps. Also, Su Bei hadn't contacted him yet. Hadn't she agreed to get to know each other? Lu Heading's eyes darkened. As he was about to put his phone away, a series of numbers flashed on the screen. Although there was no caller ID, Lu Heading knew those numbers by heart.